made it.
Good evening, bar rats. I'm a little early because I'm messing around with Restream tonight, so that's why it's happening. So good evening. I hope everybody's having a good night. We're gonna start, I guess, a couple minutes early because I was messing around with the font and it's just stopped. So hey, but let me know what you think of the video quality tonight because I've had it with StreamYard. I'm sorry. It's a public message. I can't stand StreamYard. For the amount of money that they charge and the product that they are putting out, it just doesn't seem to be worth it. So I'm looking around at a couple different streaming services. There's EVO, there's Restream. So I'm testing out a couple different ones. Now, of course, there's going to be some things that happen here, but I do like the layout of Restream right now. So we're going to test it tonight. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And that's because I was putting in another scene in the background. And it was just like, okay, so you want to start? And it's like, no. Oh, yeah, well, I guess so. So I hope everybody's having a good evening tonight. You are not late if you are like, why are you starting before 6? It's because I messed up, but that's okay. We're going to get to it. We're going to have a good night. I really did think that it was going to be a one-day story about the Epstein list not being what am I trying to say? Swept under the rug. But I guess, the press did have to follow up with Trump at a cabinet meeting today, and Trump did not take it well. Now, of course, Pam Bondi, Law and Bunny Bondi, our favorite, whatever you want to call her, is under the microscope, under the gun, or whatever the case may be. But that's really it's really starting to become a question of, will Pam Bondi fall on her sword? By the way, I'm looking at some of the other screens from like Getter and Rumble, and I can already tell you that the video quality is so much better than it is on StreamYard. Yeah, I'm getting rid of StreamYard. Yeah, it's that simple. I'm getting rid of StreamYard. I have to. I mean, the amount of time and effort I put into this thing. Not that I'm complaining. I know I hate it when people put into his time and effort. But just to give you guys a quality product is really what I'm trying to talk about. So that's what I'm trying to talk about, is that I like Restream. Restream is not fuzzy. For some reason, no matter what I do on StreamYard, my shows look fuzzy on YouTube and Rumble and Getter. They don't look fuzzy here. So, I mean, I'm fuzzy enough as it is. So I don't need extra fuzz. But it's now, the question is this, my bar rats and anybody else is hanging out with me on RickCast. Thank you for hanging out with me. I appreciate it. What is the timetable on Law and Bunny Bondi before she retires or before she steps down? She has to. Because Trump is getting a lot of backlash now. And we have a video today of him, and he is not happy. He is not happy about any of this. I know, Brian. I know. It is difficult. It is difficult to see all of this winning. What do you mean glamour filter? I don't know what you're talking about. This is just a regular it's her filter. You're talking about her, not me. Yeah. I hope you're talking about her. I don't think I have any filters on here, but it is what it is. So we'll see how long she lasts. It's absolutely the case because somebody's going to have to fall on the sword for this whole thing. Somebody's going to have to fall on the sword for the whole Epstein rollout and the disaster behind it. And she was the one that really initiated it. If you think about it, she was the one that initiated this entire thing. When she famously said on Fox News, I have the documents on my desk and I'm going to take a look at them right now. And then that kind of threw everybody. I don't know why I'm talking like that with her, but it just sent everything else off into motion. Yeah, I know that it's a little jittery. I can work on the camera filter. I'm fine with that. I just want to make sure that the actual show is clear, and it is. So I'm fine with that and that. Would I rather have Kamala? Oh, you got me again. Would I rather have Kamala or not? I don't know. Maybe not. Yeah, I gotta work on the shutter speed, I think, on this thing. That's fine. I'll clear that out. We'll be good. But I am happier with the way it at least looks. So we're getting there. All right. So we're talking about Trump lashing out because of the Epstein thing. Almost sounding like he is commanding the MAGA base to move on. And of course, that's not, you even got people like Liz Wheeler of the famous Bindergate saying, this is not a good look for Trump. He needs to move on. He's like, no, honey, you need to be quiet. Excuse me. You need to be not talking right now. You need to be not talking because everybody essentially blames you for Bindergate, which they should. Outside of that, there's a couple other stories that I know nobody else is going to cover. And since it's the middle of July, I'll talk about them. TSA is proposing to eliminate taking off your shoes at the airport. After 20 years and how many times I've had to pay TSA to actually, even though I do pay for TSA pre-check because I'm much better than you heathens, I still have to take off my shoes sometimes, which is ridiculous, but looks like no more. You don't have to do this in other countries, by the way. The one place I've traveled to, Italy, they have this thing where you put your shoes in, you keep your shoes on and you step on this box or whatever, and then it scans your shoes and it's like, you're fine, move on. These United States, and the reason they do it, the reason they don't use technology and all that kind of stuff is because they want as many people in TSA. TSA is a jobs program. So that's why it's absolutely crap. And the entire thing is just garbage in that regard. So we're going to talk about that. This is a story that I think is going to have a huge impact in future elections. And I don't say that willy-nilly. But the IRS quietly today, the 8th of July, 2025, said churches can endorse political candidates. Remember, we used to hear the Johnson rule? That's why the Catholic Church, especially for us Catholics, we couldn't come out. You know what, Mark? If you do, you should go on OnlyFans. You'll probably make a ton of money. I don't have it. I have hobbit feet, or else I would absolutely be cashing in right now. I've got proud feet. So they are gross and hairy and very male. The male creature is quite hideous. But anyway, the IRS is going to let churches, I hate even saying it like that, I'm sorry, I even hate saying that, but not penalizing churches for endorsing political candidates. It's going to be very interesting to see how the Catholic Church approaches that now. Because there's no more like, oh, we can't endorse a political candidate because of the Johnson rule, and we don't want to get political, blah, 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 blah. The IRS says you can. So how will the Catholic Church respond to that? That will be an interesting story. If you like the chalkboard tonight, you can give a thanks to our buddy Dean Oakes, who came up with it. Dean's my chalkboard guy from now on. He comes up with the chalkboard sayings because, I got too many other things in my head. I'm trying to put together a show. I'm not creative enough. So give Dean a shout out for he's my chalkboard guy. So from now on, he's the one coming up with the slogans on the chalkboard. So we'll see. The IRS has just come out and said people can endorse candidates. We haven't gotten to the point of saying who can and who can't. It's a good point, Catholic Jedi. We'll see. And we'll see. I guarantee the Catholic Church will say, oh, we want to remain neutral in this regard and blah, 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 blah. But the USCCB, that hive of wretchedry and villainy. I don't care. I'll call them that. The USCCB is not a canonical institute, and I do not have to obey them. I have to obey my bishop and my bishop only, and of course the Pope. I don't have to obey the USCCB, so I don't care about calling them a hive of scum and villainy. You know that the line, the thing, the quote, because forget them. So anyway, we have that set up as well on tonight's RickCast. And then finally, we're going to talk about the Superman reviews are starting to come out. Looks pretty positive, despite the fact that James Gunn's idiot brother can't shut up. And maybe we'll show that video at the end of the show if I can actually add that in. I think I can. And I think I'll start the upload process now. Once again, if you've come in late, let me know what you think of the video quality. Because I am trying out a different streaming service tonight, and this is a Restream. And if you think the video quality is better on Restream, please let me know if you think it is, because if you think it's better here, then I will be more than happy to dump StreamYard and actually go with Restream, because I'm looking for any little advantage I can get as far as video quality and things of that nature. So let me know what you think. If you think Restream, if the video quality looks good compared to StreamYard. We streamed every other episode on StreamYard. This is the first one we've done on Restream. And if you think it's better, then it gives me the jolt to just, because if I'm half and half on dumping StreamYard, but if you guys think it looks good, I will dump StreamYard. Somebody's asking, what does the P stand for? This is a hat of the old Pawtucket Paw Sox, old AAA team in Boston. Boston Red Sox AAA team used to be in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, so we had the Pawtucket Paw Sox. Of course, the state of Rhode Island being stupid, they wouldn't help get a new stadium, so now they're in Connecticut because Rhode Island sucks. It was one of the few great things in Rhode Island were Paw Sox games, but now we don't have them anymore. So it really is crazy. Yep, that's right. Gas is so low, guys. Gas is super low right now. Okay. Dan Bongino, he's gonna fix everything. It's always Cash. Cash Patel's gonna fix it, guys. The cope, the MAGA cope is ridiculous. Anyway, let's see here. So looks like the bar rats have assembled. I'm getting some guys telling me that it looks good. No lagging issues. That's fantastic. The microphone seems to be working well. It's not defaulting. That's also very good. Let's see here. Well, yeah, the darker issue is me. I have bad lighting. StreamYard had a thing where you could up the brightness. I'm sure I have a whole thing I can work on with this what's called face cam. They have a whole different setup. I can probably make it brighter. But when I say video quality, I mean like lagging and being fuzzy. If you look at some of the videos in the past week, half the video looks fuzzy. Looks like it's good. It looks like there's a sheen in front of it. So that's the big thing. It doesn't look like there's a sheen on it when I'm watching Getter. So I mean, it is true, Brian, that my beauty only radiates through everything regardless. But yes, so thank you guys. I appreciate the fact is, so it is darker, but that's not the cam's fault. It's the fact that I have terrible lighting. I have terrible lighting. I might be able to fix it after one of the videos. Anyway, thank you guys. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell to follow the program. If you would like, you can always follow me on X at Stradcad, Stradcath, if you'd like. And we will get on to today's show. Finally. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got a couple of stories to get to. Not that one yet. Not that. I also have to work on this thing. I don't like this setup. I got to get it back to what I had before. But that's okay. It's a lot of fun. I'm happy with it. We're going to get to it. All right. So hopefully you can read this. This comes to us from groundnews.com, and it states that SCOTUS, let me see if I can expand that for you guys. SCOTUS allows Trump to proceed with large-scale government agency staff cuts and reorganization. So what we're seeing here is that SCOTUS is allowing the Trump administration to proceed with the large-scale federal job cuts and agency reorganizations that have been blocked by your kind of, psychotic lower courts. And that's a good thing, because if we're going to kind of cut any of this stuff out, it's one of the things that I was actually happy about with Trump doing. And the fact that we're going to get back to something like that is good. And I would like to see more federal employees lose their job, even because they don't really earn it or deserve it. They just kind of have it and forget them. So this is a good thing. I don't know how you can complain about it. I know most people will, but it is what it is in that regard. So that's your first warm-up story today. If you have anything to say about that, let me know in the comment section, which the bar rats are fantastic and always helpful in doing there. Let's get to an update, of course, in the tragic sense of what happened today or over the weekend. We've been covering, especially here in Texas. Texas governor, this just came out about 15 minutes ago. Texas governor says more than 160 people are still missing after the deadly floods in Kerrville. And the heavy rains in early July 2025 caused deadly river flooding in Kerrville. And it's really just an absolute tragedy. And I was saying that to some people over the weekend, that, oh, well, there's only so many people so far, and this, that, and the other thing. I said, guys, you have to understand that there were trailers that were just washed away, just absolutely washed. Not hundreds, but many trailers just washed away during the flooding, and how tragic this was going to be when it actually happened and when they actually found it. It was going to be akin to something like the finding a big, a bunch of people in a stairwell in 9/11. And it's really kind of sad that we're kind of get under this. Yeah, that's right. People are going to be buried under several miles of mud, flushed down the river. I'm sorry for using that phrase, but just hundreds of yards away. And it's really tragic how this whole thing is setting up to be. And the idea behind the search and rescue. And I know the Homeland Security lady that we make fun of, what's her face, Kristi Noem, she was trying to be like, oh, well, we're still looking for people and we're still trying to find them. There's something, if you've ever been in search and rescue, or if you've ever been involved with that stuff. I've trained with CERT, Community Emergency Response Team, which FEMA does. You can find them usually in your areas. After about 24 hours, it goes from a search and rescue to just a missing persons. That's really what these things are. If you don't find these people really when the water is flooding, it's just recovery. It's a recovery effort at that point. And of course, I forgot to mention it yesterday. I know Brian mentioned it in the chat and Mark just brought it up. So sorry, guys. We are going to bring it up because it's something that we have to talk about. From St. Rita's Catholic Church, the two girls from Dallas in their last moments, they were holding each other tightly and they were holding on to their rosaries. 13-year-old Blair Harbor and her 11-year-old sister Brooke Harbor. Eternal rest grant unto both of them, O Lord, and let perpetual light shine upon them. May they rest in peace. Amen. Blair was preparing to enter 8th grade, and Brooke was set to begin 6th grade at St. Rita Catholic School. They were not at Camp Mystic, as some were trying to say. There were up to 10 campers and one counselor still missing. The girls were staying with their grandparents along the Guadalupe River, who remain unaccounted for, according to the church. Their parents were in a separate cabin and not harmed. And that phrase right there has got to break the hearts of the parents. Imagine waking up and your parents are gone. And I'm sorry if this sounds really cold, but they're older and it's like, that's tragic. But to have your two little girls just absolutely washed away. I'm not a parent. I've made that known. I know there are people in the chat. The level of heartbreak that I feel cannot even compare to what the parents must be going on. It's just absolutely. So, remember them. If you haven't done your rosary today, remember them in your rosary. If you have, remember them in your prayers tomorrow. Remember them at church this week. They were found 15 miles downriver. Even in their last moments, they held each other tightly. A powerful symbol of their lasting bond and their trust in God. There's a reason why our Lord and Savior says, have faith as a child. In that regard. Blair, described as a standout student, was enrolled in advanced classes, involved in numerous extracurricular activities, playing a bunch of different things. She was a student ambassador. Younger sister Brooke was accomplished in soccer, basketball, volleyball, and lacrosse. Brooke was an excellent student. The school is asking for continued prayers. And it's just an absolutely just heart-wrenching story. And I know because we're Catholics that... we're focusing on this, but we need to pray for all souls that were lost at that time, those who were Catholic, those who weren't, and the grace for their families in these tragedies. That's one thing in tragedy that people don't really talk about is the PTSD that parents and loved ones feel in these times and how to overcome these types of things. Because what's the phrase? And it was, King Theoden says in Lord of the Rings, and I know parents out there will say it. There's no worse feeling I've heard from parents than to bury your children. It's not supposed to be that way. It's not supposed to. It's inverted, and it's just absolutely tragic in those moments. So once again, if you can, please, my fellow Catholics and even any evangelicals or Protestants who are watching right now, please pray for the souls of Blair Harbor and her 11-year-old and her younger sister Brooke Harbor, that that they were awarded for their unshakable faith, because that is really something that has to be said, is that it seems like the one thing they held on to in moments of tragedy and trial was their faith. And I'll say this. I hope in my last moments that I am as brave as they were, at least appearing as brave as they were. So a tragic story on top of an already tragic situation. All right, this is RickCast. Do me a favor, like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. I know that it's so awful to even say that during the show. I feel like such a dink by saying that, but we have to say it, and please remember them in your thoughts and prayers. So, All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to our first story of the night here on RickCast. Now, I had thought that the Trump team and their vast net of right-wing influencers were going to be able to sweep away this Epstein story pretty quickly, right? And I think Trump, in his idea, in his pride, in his personality, told Pam Bondi and told Cash and told Dan, don't worry, guys, you do it. I'll back you up, and we'll soothe the crowds. We'll soothe the crowds. It's fine. And I just don't think. I think Trump underestimates his base right now, and I think Trump underestimates how they feel in regards to how much they desperately wanted this list to be given to the public, because people are angry, and people really looked at it, and we talked about it yesterday. People looked at it because of, hey, you're an outsider, Trump. You're supposedly an outsider, Trump. So we need you to come in and break this whole thing up. And the fact that it seems like it's business as usual is not great. You're right, G Money. That was one of the things, and I'm going to bring it up right now. I'm glad you brought that up. The internet worked overtime to try and get that thing up. And Trump acknowledged the Epstein list during the campaign. Here you go.
But a lot of big people went to that island. But fortunately, I was not one of them.
It's just very strange for a lot of people that the list of clients that went to the island has not been made public.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? Probably will be, by the way. Probably.
So if you're able to, you'll be.
Yeah, I'd certainly take a look at it. Are you still talking about Jeffrey?
All right, hold on. I got I'm not gonna let's go back let me bring me back in here. So with that being said, this article here, get out of here. All these videos, man. All these videos and pop-ups. Get out of here. Trump erupts over Epstein question. AG Law and Bunny Bondi says no knowledge that he worked for intel agencies. Empire, we're going to cover it real quick. I got a couple videos just to show that this is actually going to be a huge blunder for the Trump administration. I don't want to waste too much time on it, but the reason I'm covering it now is because the countdown starts on this. When does this lady get fired? When does Law and Bunny Bondi get fired? She's going to have to. She brought this whole thing up, and now Trump is going to have to deal with this. So Trump lashed out today at a press conference about this question. You guys can take a look.
And released yesterday in Jeffrey Epstein, it left some lingering mysteries. One of the biggest ones is whether he ever worked for a American or foreign intelligence agency. The former labor secretary, who was Miami U.S. Attorney Alex Costa, he allegedly said that he did work for an intelligence agency. So could you resolve whether or not he did? And also, could you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape on the night of the death?
Yeah, sure.
Hey, Pam, could I just interrupt for 1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this, where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
Sure. First, to back up on that, in February, I did an interview on Fox, and it's been getting a lot of attention because I said I was asked a question about the client list, and my response was, it's sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file along with the JFK, MLK files as well. That's what I meant by that. Also,
they're literally in the post that said that there's nothing there. They said there's no list, there's nothing. So where's the rest of the file? Was it the binder that you gave out to Poso and all these other people? Like, what are you doing here? This is terrible, terrible optics.
Also, to the tens of thousands of video, they turned out to be child porn downloaded by that disgusting Jeffrey Epstein. Child porn is what they were. Never going to be released, never going to see the light of day. To him being an agent, I have no knowledge about that. We can get back to you on that. And the minute missing from the video, we released the video showing definitively the video was not conclusive, but the evidence prior to it was showing he committed suicide. And what was on that, there was a minute that was off the counter. And what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every year, every night, they redo that video. It's old, from like 1999. So every night the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing. So we're looking for that video to release that as well, showing that a minute is missing every night. And that's it on Epstein.
That's a terrible look. That's a terrible look, man. That is awful. Right? Well, that settles the whole thing. And by the way, I didn't even show the video because it's ridiculous. It's choppier than some of my videos. It's choppier than some of my stuff. And the fact is, I know Empire says, listen, she's loyal. She knows. Oh, yeah. Was that? Yeah. She can't get fired because she knows too much. I think that she could still get fired. I think she might be asked by Trump. Somebody's got to take the rap for this. Because Trump's trying to say, hey, man, I'll just, why are we still talking about this? Blah, blah, blah. And it is not a good look because people want answers. People want something, especially after there was press releases saying there's phase 1 and then there's phase 2 and that's it. And there's not a list, but there's Prince Andrew. And what is Gazine, whatever her name, what is she in jail for? And so these things continue to be asked. And don't worry, Poso's on it. He's going to tell you to sit down or actually, let's take a listen to what Poso has to say, considering he was one of the people with the binders.
And once again, we are told now, all the way from the heights of the United States Attorney General, that the Epstein case is closed. There's no more information on Jeffrey Epstein. Why do you guys keep asking about Jeffrey Epstein? She says that we don't need to hear about Jeffrey Epstein ever again. You know what this sounds like? I'm going to tell you exactly what this sounds like. Pam Bondi sounds like Hillary Clinton right now, saying, at this point, what does it even matter?
Let me ask you this, Jack. Why didn't you ask these questions when you were handed the binder? You are so angry right now. You are so righteous in your anger towards Law and Bunny Bondi. Where was this anger? Where was this vitriol? Where were all these things when it mattered? Because now you're running just as quickly back as everybody else. It's such a clown world. Laura Loomer is chomping at the bit. She can't wait. Laura Loomer would literally deliver bagels to be in the White House. That's how desperate she is. Anyway, let's listen to the human backpedal over here. You heard of the Human Torch and the Fantastic Four. You got the human backpedal and Jack Posebic. Let's hear the rest of them.
When she was talking about Benghazi. All right. This is not how you treat the American people. This is not how you treat basic communications. This is not how you treat your voters and your supporters. And certainly, by the way, myself personally, I feel very angry, upset, used, every word you want to know, from having gone to the White House and receiving this binder full.
Oh, Jack, do you feel used? Do you feel used, Jack? Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry you feel you were just happy to be there, homie. I love how Jack is now the victim. Do you see this? I was used too, guys. They gave me this. It's so hurt. Ugh, you sound like a woman. Get me out of here.
Baloney that was completely publicly available information already that we were told was new information on Epstein. It wasn't. We were told that more information was coming. There wasn't. You claimed that you had the list on your desk. You didn't. And none of it came out. And now when people have the obvious response of asking a question about it, you get in their faces and you tell them to stop asking. No, you sound like Hillary Clinton right now, and this isn't what you promised the American people.
Never forget, folks. Never forget, ever, Jack Poseidon. In 45 minutes, I'm going to give you all, right? Look at this. He's going to cry foul now. He's going to sit here and say he was such a victim and why didn't they do these things with me? And I just so sad. Where were you, buddy? Why didn't you ask all these important questions when you were in the White House, sitting across from Pam Bondi? Right? He's supposed to be military intelligence, Dean. I guess, military intelligence is the oxymoron that we all think it is. So this is absolutely ridiculous. And the fact that you have MAGAs trying to tell you that, oh, it's time to move on, guys. We saw the video yesterday. Julie Kelly, who I respect her work on the January 6th stuff, she was leading the charge. Oh, we don't need to know this anymore. Let's just get rid of this. Who cares? Yeah, you know what? Who knows? Benny Johnson's his glasses are spinning around his head right now. But I do think we should keep an eye out to see if this. Oh, wrong one. I'm still working on this one, I guess. If somebody takes the rap for this Epstein stuff. I think so. And it was funny because you got guys like Tim Cast and all of these other people who know Jack and they know Dan and they know Cash and they know Pam. They've all hung out with them. They've all done podcasts. They've all done all these other things. You know, Tim Pool and his crew have spun a pretty nice tale where, oh, they've seen the evidence and the evidence is so damning that it would damage the economy and cause bad relations with other countries and such and such. Now, to Tim's credit, and he can say this on his podcast, he's like, I would have released the list anyway, but I still think that's all just trying to save face with their podcast buddies, because that's really all this is about. It's really all about making sure your podcast people are okay, that the people that you hang out with and that come on your shows and that you talk to think this is working. And it's not working. It is major cope. And you know what it is? It's not winning. That's what it is. It is not winning in the slightest. So I know this was released around this time because the way I've been saying it, I'm thinking that they had hoped being summertime, maybe even, and I'm going to say this because I'm kind of a jerk, maybe even with the things happening in Texas, they thought they had some kind of cover. Yeah, I'm going to say it. They probably believed that, hey, we have the cover of what's happening in Texas right now. We have the cover for it. So let's release this. It should fly under the radar. We may have to deal with a day or two of strategy on this, And Trump probably told everybody, don't worry, I'll tell them all, shut up and deal with it. And the MAGA faithful will believe me. I don't know. I think that's a terrible calculation on the part of Donald Trump. And I mean, Mark, let me ask you this question. After the Civil War, I'll be nice. After the Civil War, no, let me do this. Let me, how about this? After World War II, right? Let me be a little bit better. How about after World War II? Do you think it was our government after we got put on a permanent war footing after World War II and the expansion of the military industrial complex that, President Eisenhower warned about? Who knows? But this idea, yeah, he's the one responsible. And I think Mark's been saying it. There's been no leaks. So everybody is acting on it. And yes, Pam Bondi is acting with his approval. We saw it in the actual press conference. Do you want to speak about this? And then she's like, I'll talk about it, Trump, blah, 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 blah. And so once you realize that it's a grift and all these people are out for their own ends. And, I was watching WDW Pro and they talked about this, and bless the hearts of the people on WDW Pro. They're like, oh, well, the new media can fight this and get. I'm like, bro, there's no way you're ever seeing that list. And you can whine and complain all you want. Trump has put his foot down. He just showed you in that meeting he is not interested in this. You are not going to bully Trump into doing this. He's in office. He's not running again. It's over. It's over, man. It's over in this regard. And so, yeah, that's pretty much what this is. So, yeah, that's what I'm hoping. And I said it yesterday, and I'm going to stick on that. Maybe there's enough people that see this and they're like, well, it doesn't matter. You can put JD Vance in there. You can put whoever. And, you could even put Thomas Massie in there, right? You could throw Rand Paul in the Oval Office. You're never getting this stuff. So that's why you should focus on cleaning up your state, because and Brian and I know, being here in Texas, that's a tall order here, to try and make it that much better. So it's a lesson. It's a lesson for people who thought that Trump was going to kind of get us out of this. Like I said, you might get some decent stuff. Right? Some eliminations, some rollbacks, maybe some tax breaks. We thought maybe no wars, but then we went and dropped bombs on Iran. I don't think we're done with that in the least. I think that still has its ugly head to rear towards us. So we'll see how it goes in that way. All right, folks, let's move on. I'm not going to stick on this too long, because we're just going to be repeating the same talking points. So let's get into some other stuff here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm RickCast. If you like what we're doing, please do me a favor. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. You guys are doing a great job. The bar rats are killing it in the chat. Anybody else wants to drop in on the chat as well. Rumble, I'm connected. That's the cool thing about Restream is I'm connected to you guys over on Rumble. So if you want to drop a comment in there, I can see as well. All right, let's get to our next story of the night here. If you travel, this ain't a bad one. This I don't think it's a bad one at all here. Of course, I'm trying to show the headline here, and what are they doing? What product are they advertising? No, I don't care about the keyless deadbolt whatever here. Can you just get out of the damn way, please? I hate this stupid website. Why are you using it, Rick? Because I'm a moron. What do you want? At long last, TSA rumored to be rolling back the dreaded security checkpoint rule as early as today. So, at long last, the Transportation Security Administration, the least effective agency, and there's a lot of ineffective agencies in the federal government. Mine is TSA. TSA is nothing more than a jobs program. It is security theater, kabuki theater, whatever you want to call it. That's what it is. And it's no good, and it's annoying, and I hate it. But at long last, they appear to be rolling back one of its most hated airport security rules. Unless you're Mark, who has beautiful feet. I don't, so I don't like showing my feet at the airport. Then again, I don't wear flip-flops. I actually dress appropriately when I fly. When I say appropriately, I mean a polo shirt and khakis. I might as well be dressing like I'm from the 1940s, considering everybody else is wearing pajama bottoms and gray sweatpants. Flying is gross because most people treat it as if it's, with the same irrelevance as they would in their own house. But anyway, as of July 7th, according to an internal memo reported by numerous travel industry sources, passengers will no longer be required to remove said shoes at agency checkpoints. The document cited technological advances and reevaluations of potential threats as a deciding factor in the shoe statute removal, according to 1 mile at a time. The change is in fact being rolled out at airports across the country today, according to Aviation Insider blog View from the Wing. Travelers who cleared the TSA pre-check have long not been able to enjoy walking on filthy airport floors and stocking feet, but now the rest of us will be able to experience that sensation for the first time since the shoe bomber. Let me have a guy actually tell you this, because there's somebody who did a report on this. Go.
Well, after nearly 20 years, we'll soon see a major change at many airports across the country. ABC News has learned that airline passengers will no longer have to remove their shoes while going through security. ABC's Rena Roy breaks it all down for us.
The shoes can stay. Two sources telling ABC News the TSA plans to phase out the shoe removal policy in all screening lanes at many airports across the country. A welcome relief for the millions of passengers every day who have to go through that hassle while traveling.
I think it's certainly going to make things a little bit faster, and it's going to eliminate some of the frustration people that have had with TSA over the years.
For years now, the agency has been looking at ways to speed up those long lines at security. With Real ID now a requirement to travel domestically, experts say security is tighter, helping lead to this change.
With Real ID, we know who these people are, and we know that they don't necessarily pose a threat.
Advancements in technology also helping make things safer.
If you are feeling really confident in those security measures, including advancements in technology that might be able to better detect explosives, that's how you might come to this decision.
Previously, only passengers in the TSA pre-check line were able to keep their shoes on in most cases.
This is helping that travel population that doesn't travel very often, that doesn't have TSA pre-check.
This is a major shift since the policy was implemented in 2006, 5 years after Richard Reed tried to blow up an American Airlines flight from Paris to Miami with explosives packed in his shoes. The explosives failed to detonate, Reed taken into custody. Now, according to a memo sent to TSA officers, passengers who trigger the alarm at the scanners will still be required to remove their shoes for additional screening. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
Well, I mean, that's not great, but, it is what it is in that regard. But hey, you can actually opt out of the Face ID. You just have to say, you don't need my Face ID. Now, I've already been hit so many times with Face ID that it doesn't even matter. When you travel abroad, there's no choice. When you're traveling abroad, it's part of customs. They take your picture anyway. So I know some people are big on that, but they've gotten your face picture on so many different things. Plus your phone does it automatically. I know I've talked about how Apple takes pictures of your phone, of your face every couple seconds. The camera is, unless you have it covered. But hey, if you're not a big fan of having to take your shoes off, here's the crazy thing. I have pre-check, and half the time I go into the airport, I still have to take my stupid shoes off because they find something. So hopefully they can go pound sand and never ask me to do such a terrible thing ever again. So hopefully this is the end of that. But if you travel like I do sometimes, now if I'm going in the continental US, I will most likely drive. So I will just stick to driving if it's in the US. The only time I'll really fly is if it's international. Outside of that, I won't fly. I mean, unless I need to get somewhere immediately, which is not really the case. I can get anywhere in the US within 4 days. Like I can get to the East Coast in 3 days. So it's not like it's that big of a deal. So it is what it is in that regard. Moving on here on RickCast, ladies and gentlemen, do me a favor. If you are just here, like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. do all that stuff. If you're on the X, repost the stream so it will get more attention. My folks on Getter, you can leave a comment too. We got almost 600 of you guys hanging out with us in there, and it's good. Without the full Monty treatment. They see you coming, Michael, and they're like, it's Michael Thomas, baby. Here we go. You are. Hey, you know, if you ever feel lonely, Michael, you could always just go to the airport. You could always get to the airport. So it is. Well, Mark, I can get to the East Coast from here in 2. Like, I can get to South Carolina. I can get to the Carolinas in 2 days. 10 hours to Tuscaloosa, sleep overnight, 10 hours to the East Coast. Like when I drove up to New Hampshire for the St. Benedict Center that one year, took me 3 days. It took me 3 days because I stopped in Rhode Island. Took me, because anytime I go that way, I'll stop somewhere in Tennessee outside of Memphis. I make sure I fly through Memphis as quickly as possible. So somewhere in Tennessee, I stop. And then, like, when I drove to the St. Benedict Center, I stopped in Pennsylvania because there were friends up in Pennsylvania. Then I stopped in Rhode Island because there were friends in Rhode Island. And then I went to New Hampshire. That's why it took too long. I could probably shave it to 2 if I really tried. So it is what it is in that regard. Now, trains would be perfect, except trains, everything routes through Chicago. If you were to take Amtrak, even from here, if I was to go to South Carolina or North Carolina or Charlotte or even DC, it would go up through Chicago because that's where the hub is for Amtrak, jump on another train, and then it would take you down to DC or the East Coast or whatever the case may be. Plus the Amtrak system outside of the Acela on the East Coast, which of course all the liberals like, because you can get from DC to New York, and that's that exclusive way. But outside of that, it's not really great in any way, shape, or form. Lou, remember, I spent a summer in Memphis. I don't need to ever be. If I never stop in Memphis ever again, it'll be too soon. So it's not great. Yeah, we know you've taken the drive to. You can. Yeah, at this point, living in Texas, if it's a 10 to 15 hour drive somewhere, I can make it in a day. I just get up at I'll leave at 4 a.m. and just drive until I get somewhere. So, it's doable. Driving is not too bad. So you have that. All right, let's move on to our next story of the night, ladies and gentlemen. Headline here. I think this is a very interesting story. I don't know who else besides myself is even going to bring it up. So let's take a look at this story coming to us. I'm going to use NPR, but whatever. I mean, it is what it is. IRS says churches can now endorse political candidates. And lucky for you guys, I have another video. Go.
Stop scrolling. The IRS just quietly made a massive change that could reshape American politics. And it starts in your church in a new court filing. The IRS confirmed that churches and other tax-exempt houses of worship can now legally endorse political candidates during religious services without violating campaign rules. Let's break this down. This all started with a lawsuit filed by 2 Texas churches and a group of Christian broadcasters. They argued that the IRS was unfairly targeting them under something called the Johnson Amendment, which bans nonprofits, including churches, from engaging in political campaigning. But in a surprising move, the IRS backed off. They told the court that internal speech during worship, like a pastor endorsing a candidate from the pulpit, does not count as political activity. Under current IRS code, in other words, your pastor could say, "Vote for Trump," during a sermon, and that's now considered protected religious expression, not political campaigning. And here's the kicker. The IRS admitted they've generally not been enforcing the Johnson Amendment inside churches anyway. That makes this more than just legal clarification, it's a signal. The government is basically saying, we are not going to get involved in what pastors say to their congregations, at least not during services. Critics say this opens the door to blurring the line between church and state even more. Supporters say it's about protecting free speech and religious liberty. So where do you stand? Should churches be allowed to endorse?
Whatever, I'm not going to give that guy that. There you go. So it's going to be interesting. Of course, most of us watching, most of you guys here are Catholic. And so it's going to be interesting to see how the church responds to this. Will the Catholic Church, will certain will certain priests in their services during campaign season, will they endorse? And it'll be more interesting to see by which diocese will. Because now that this ruling's happening, churches on the coast, both coasts, will say vote for the Democrat. You can say you can vote for them, right? They'll say 100% you can vote for them. That's fine, which is not a great thing. Here in more conservative states, you'll probably have bishops forbidding priests from doing such things because they don't want to get political, or they don't want their priests supporting, bad guys or whatever the case may be. So it's going to be interesting. Yeah, our evangelical brothers and sisters are going to be more than happy to endorse. I mean, they essentially do it now anyway. Now, the Catholic confession thing in Washington, is being challenged by both the DOJ and some religious groups. So I think that one's going to get absolutely, that's going to be put down. I think that Washington rule is going to get absolutely flambéed and tossed out. So we'll see how that works. But yeah, separation of church and state was never a big deal. First of all, it's not even in the Constitution. As we all know, it's from a letter from Jefferson. And so you're trying to convince people that it's not in the Constitution, because they're like, oh, Congress won't establish a religion. That's a separation of church. It's like, no. Congress. I mean, when Pennsylvania was formed, and you can fact check me, I'm sure I'm right, it did have a state religion. There was a state religion in Pennsylvania, the Quakers. It was a state religion. States could have official religions when the Union was formed. So the fact that this is even a question is, just shows how far we've fallen. Now, of course, if you think I'm wrong, please cite how I'm wrong in the comment section down below, because I'm pretty sure I'm right on this one. But I don't know who else is going to talk about this, because it could be huge as far as propaganda used in the next couple campaigns. So, and this says, since 1954, a provision in the code called the Johnson Amendment said that churches and other nonprofits could lose it if they participate or intervene in any political campaigning on behalf of it. Now, let me say this as well. This is probably something that has come down during a more conservative government, right, under the Trump administration. I would be very hesitant if I was a priest to even do this still, even though the IRS is like, oh yeah, don't worry about it, guys. Because as soon as President BBL comes in, she could easily direct the IRS to enforce the Johnson Amendment, because the Johnson Amendment's still on the books. That's the problem. Now, the IRS is like, oh yeah, don't worry about it, guys. Just go ahead. We totally promise we'll never enforce it until you get an executive BBL, as we'll call her, if you know who I'm talking about. Most of you do. And she'll say, the first thing I want you to do, if you hear any Catholic priest promoting a specific politician, arrest them or strip them of their status. I think it's a trap. It's a trap. I think it's absolutely a trap that is designed to get people comfortable. And then in a couple years, they'll just kind of casually do it, and boom, they will strip that sucker as soon as possible. So while, yeah, it's a nice little thing you can do now, I would not get comfortable doing it long term, because as long as the Johnson Amendment is still on the books, which it is, because no law ever gets repealed, they can use this to enforce on churches later on. All right, folks, last story of the night here on RickCast. And it is just real quick. We're going to talk about, I'm going to give you my review of this film coming on Thursday. I'm going to go see it. I already have my tickets bought for it. But the Superman film, the embargo dropped today. So now we are seeing different Review services come out. It's got a 91% on the tomato meter, which I know some of you don't care about, and I don't either. Metacritic has a 71. And this is just people who were able to review it earlier. So the first wave of reviews have been good. However, there's a problem because
your boss, your brother.
Yeah. Hold on. So there was an article in Variety Sunday that dropped, and James Gunn, whether you like him or not, by the way, my fellow Catholics, James Gunn is born and baptized as a Catholic. He went to a Catholic high school. He went to a Catholic college. So I know that doesn't mean much. I'm just giving you his background. Pray for his soul. Pray for the soul of James Gunn. Him and his stupid brother here are both Catholic. All right. They're falling away as far as you can be, but they're still Catholics and they're still in need of our prayers to come back to the faith. That's why I love Blessed Bartolo Longo. No Catholic is outside of the reach of Our Lady and our Lord. If he can bring back Blessed Bartolo Longo, he can bring back anybody. She can bring back anybody. So I know it's not popular to say, but in this regard, as Catholics, it's kind of our duty to pray for people like James Gunn and his stupid brother, Sean. So stupid brother Sean here tries to react to this Variety quote. Variety kind of led James Gunn into this thing where, well, yeah, Superman's an immigrant and, it's a movie about kindness. And this homosexual here, the interviewer, he's one of these guys. Every time there's a movie out, they're like, how gay is this movie? And, he puts these actors in these positions. Now, James Gunn, I'll show you in a second, actually navigates this question pretty well at the Superman premiere, but his stupid brother, Sean, who is also a Catholic, this is his response.
Your boss, your brother, talked about Superman being an immigrant. And now MAGA is already upset that he's called Superman an immigrant. I wanted to get your reaction.
My reaction to that is that it is exactly what the movie is about, I think, that, we support our people, We love our immigrants. Yes, Superman is an immigrant. And yes, the people that we support in this country are immigrants. And if you don't like that, then you're not American. People who say no to immigrants are against the American way. They're against what the American dream is all about.
Truth, justice, and the American way.
Absolutely.
And James Gunn is like, why are you so retarded? What are you doing? Right? Superman is a $200 million movie. James Gunn is the head of DC Studios. Well, the reporter is he is a homosexual, and that's just his voice. So it is what it is. So he got good old he got this moron Sean Gunn to say this, and I'm sure James is like, bro, what are you doing in this regard? Are you friggin' kidding me? Like, I don't even care. Just shut up for 5 seconds. Don't say anything. Just keep your mouth shut.
Stop scrolling. So, the IRS just quietly.
I'll continue to scroll however I want. Get out of here. Still working on this tonight, guys. Get out of here. Go away. Go back to me. There it is. And James is like, dude, I'm trying to make this movie, and I'm trying to get this to a point where we can actually have and make some friggin' money out of it, because in the end, he is the head of the studio. So he's like, dude, just please shut up for 5 seconds. Now, I'm trying to get here because I want to show you James Gunn's reaction, which I will give James Gunn credit for. Not give him a lot of credit for this. His answer is much better. And the fact is, a lot of people are actually saying the movie's not too bad. The early critics. And now, of course, like I said, I will give you my review on it on Thursday. It will drop probably drop Friday morning because I have to. The movie's at 2. It's a 2-hour movie. I'll get home at 4. Maybe I can get it up, the review up and possible, but definitely on Friday. So this idea is just 100% ridiculous. So here's James Gunn's response.
You said it's an immigrant story. It's a political movie. MAGA today is going nuts. What do you have to say to MAGA?
I don't have anything. I think this movie's for everybody. I don't have anything to say to anybody. Like I'm not here to judge people, you know. I think this is a movie about kindness, and I think that's something everyone can relate to.
Easy enough. That's an easy enough answer. It's an easy enough answer. But his stupid brother Sean couldn't help himself. And so now this movie is under fire. We'll see how it does. It should do fine the opening weekend, but like I said, I will give you my report after I see it on Thursday. All right, folks, that's it for this episode of RickCast. Please do me a favor, like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell to help the show grow. I don't have any of my graphics because I didn't move them over tonight. I don't even have an end screen. That's kind of how I'm flying by the seat of my pants right now. But thank you so much for hanging out with me here on RickCast. I appreciate every single one of you. I will talk to you tomorrow. God bless. And until that day comes, ladies and gentlemen,